Yesterday, in the last episode of this podcast, I talked about the golden buzzer moment as a leader. This morning, I read a post from a friend by the name of Sean Murphy. And in Sean's post, he talked about a golden buzzer kind of a moment. And it causes me to want to expound even more on what I talked about yesterday, because I don't want you to miss what my intent was with yesterday's lesson. I want you to go deeper into what it means for you as a leader to have a golden buzzer moment. Stay tuned. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. When we talk about the golden buzzer moment, we think about all those times that the golden buzzer is famous for from America's Got Talent. When someone faced the most incredible odds, maybe they've had a horrible past or they're brand new to the idea of performing on stage. They're even a little bit nervous or a little bit shaken. And so you think when they stand there in front of that crowd of hundreds or maybe thousands or millions, as you think about what they're doing on television, you think to yourself, wow, they ought to be nervous. And then they step up there and they grab the mic or they grab their tools as a magician or an artist of some sort, and they just blow everybody out of the water. And of course, it's that moment, that emotional moment. Now, let me just say, the producers of America's Got Talent do a phenomenal job with just the right camera angles and just the right video content and just the right little packages when they put it together. What you see sometimes is a lot more dramatized than what actually happened. That's good production work. I get that. But I also know that there's something special about that moment when someone can actually say, I've arrived. In fact, when the world looks at you and says, we recognize you have arrived. It's that moment when someone takes the mic in front of that large crowd, and it seems like they've been doing this all their life. Well, you know that most people who step on that stage to audition, it's a fairly small crowd. But by the time they get in front of that large crowd, the dynamics change. Oh, trust me, I've delivered the exact same speech in front of 7 people, and then 45 people, and then 75 people, and 350 people, and then 1,500 people as I competed in the World Championship of Public Speaking with Toastmasters. And every time the crowd changes, so does the energy, so does the laughter, so does the response. Everything you say and do has to be measured because you've included so many more sensitivities. But see, there's something about that golden buzzer moment that we as an audience benefit from. That's what I want you to think about as a leader today. See, Sean's post was very powerful because he was talking about someone that he had trained to be a professional speaker, someone he had trained to take the stage in front of a crowd and deliver their content. But the point that he made was so profound. In fact, when I shared it, I made sure to paraphrase this quote just a bit, but I shared Sean's quote at the top of what I shared. I want you to go back and read his entire post. You'll find it on my Facebook timeline. I challenge you to go back and read that. But here's what I want you to think about. His quote was simply this: don't just be impressed with the 15 minutes she was on stage when you say thank you to her for the 15 minutes she delivered. But remember, those 15 minutes wouldn't have been there without the 1,500 hours of practice before. Let that set in for a minute. The 15 minutes wouldn't have been there without the 1,500 hours of practice before. And that is a key to the golden buzzer. That is a key to the golden buzzer, especially for those in the audience. See, it's real easy to think when you see someone take the stage, when you see someone just dominate with a microphone, or you see someone dominate in their performance, whether it's a violin or a quick change artist or a magic show or a mentalist show, it doesn't matter what performance they're doing. When you see them nail it in front of an audience, you've got to remember they blew it 1,000,000 times first. They misspoke. They used a bad joke. They said something that nobody else got. They played a sour note on that violin or that guitar or that piano. They hit a minor key when they meant to hit a major key. They blew it. I promise you, at some point before the golden buzzer moment, they failed. Absolutely failed. Flopped. It was horrible and it was heartbreaking. And they probably did it in front of a crowd. And they probably walked off the stage thinking, I will never have another chance. This is it. I'm done. I quit. I'm out. I give. I know, because I've done that. And I've tried to quit, and I've tried to give up, and I've tried to walk away. And sometimes the power of the golden buzzer moment is that it is an allure. It draws us. Because here's the power the golden buzzer has for the viewing audience. It's a gigantic 4-letter word. You ready? Hope. Hope is what sits behind the golden buzzer moment. But see, the real power of the golden buzzer moment is that moment when hope sets close enough to touch it, to smell it, to taste it, when all your senses have hold of hope and you think there's a chance that I could do it. Why? Well, because that hope is what drives you when you want to quit. That hope is what drives you when your coach says, no, that's not going to cut it. Do it again. When your coach comes behind you and says, I'm not going to be okay with that. I'll never forget when Earl Hurd, who was he was one of the distinguished Toastmasters in my first Toastmaster club. I'd given about 8 speeches out of the 10 just to become a competent Toastmaster. And about number 8, I decided to get a little fancy and I did some silly stuff in my speech. And when I was done, he closed the book and handed it back and didn't even do the evaluation. And the whole group just kind of looked at him like, wait, can you do that? And he said, look, it's not Toastmaster code to refuse to give an evaluation. We want to be positive and encouraging. He said, but I've been watching you for the last 7 speeches up to this point, and here's what I know about you. That speech was beneath you. In fact, I wouldn't consider that speech good enough to be your speech. And so I'm going to challenge you to do it again. And this isn't Toastmaster. This is me. Now, Earl at the time was a 3-time distinguished Toastmaster, which means he's given over 150 evaluated speeches following the curriculum and the process and the program of Toastmasters. He knows the business. He knows the program. He knows how to give a speech. And his judgment of my 8th speech was, that speech isn't good enough for you. Now, it would have been easy to quit at that moment and go, I'm done. If you're not even going to evaluate it as I'm learning, then forget it. It's not worth it. But I honestly think it was that moment and others like it that allowed me to compel myself into the World Championship. See, it was in that little club in South Lake, Texas, with Earl as one of my evaluators, that I was able to say, I'm pushing on to the competition. And with the encouragement of that group of 6 or 7 people to go on to each level of competition until I made it to the semifinals of the World Championship. The hardest part of the golden buzzer as a leader is being willing to say, you're good, but that's not your best show. You're good, but that's not your best effort. It's hard as the coach to be able to put your foot down and say, I expect more of you. But who really wins in the golden buzzer moment? Who really wins when the glitter is falling from the sky and all the world is ablaze with applause and everyone is looking at that 15 minutes of fame, or in the course of a song, 3.5 minutes of fame? Who is it that really wins? Well, of course, the leader who brought you here. That's a winner. And of course, the individual who's getting the big prize, well, that's the winner. But so is the audience. Because what the audience is getting of the whole process is that we too have a chance to win. This could be real for us as well. Hope exists that if I try hard enough, if I practice as much as that little 9-year-old girl who just got the golden buzzer, if I practice as much as Susan Boyles, if I practice as much as those who are taking the stage and realize this is not a fluke, this is not a one-time event, this is me busting my butt over and over and over again, disciplined, training, studying, researching, rehearsing. If I'm willing to pay that price, then I too can have that prize. That's the biggest winner of the golden buzzer. It's all of the world who says, look what was just accomplished. I believe now I can accomplish the same. I believe there's a real opportunity for me. I believe there's a pathway to my own success. My road may not look the same because my gifts are not the same. My opportunities are not the same. My relationships are not the same. But with discipline, with commitment, I could get a golden buzzer one day as well. I want to challenge you as leaders to be willing to put your foot down for those that you lead, for those that you coach, for those that you empower to pursue the golden buzzer. Put your foot down when you know that they could do better than they are. Put your foot down and tell them, I believe in you, perhaps maybe more than you believe in yourself. I know that you're gifted. I know that you're talented. I know you may even have talents that I don't have, but I'm not going to expect or accept second best from you. I want more. I want to see you try again. I want to see you not give up, not quit, and not just phone it in. I want to see you push with everything you have. I want this over the top because I want to be there to celebrate with you when the golden buzzer moment comes. I also want you to know as a leader, it's got to feel good. When Sean was able to make that post and say, look what she did. Look what she accomplished. Look where she's at. Look at all the people looking at her going, that was incredible, to know that he was partially responsible for her success. Not wholly. She did all the hard work. But he was there to push her on, to coach her, and to guide her. That's where the leader benefits from the golden buzzer. Of course, somebody gets the big check. Somebody gets all the surprise, glitz and glamour, and everything that goes along with that success. But those who are watching, they're some of the biggest winners because what they get out of the golden buzzer moment is hope. I challenge you as leaders to make that moment come. Hold out for the very best from those that you lead and coach. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day. Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.